If you have questions over the Unit 2 multiple choice PSAT version, you can watch through this video and we're going to explain all the problems and how they're done. Feel free to fast forward to problems you specifically want to look at, or pause the video at any point to take time to check and see. So if we look at number one says the graph of the linear function f is shown where y equals f of x, right? We just know that that's a statement. Y equals f of x. Those two are interchangeable. We want to know what the x-intercept of this graph is. So what we really want to know is what is the x-intercept, right? And we know that the x-intercept is where the line touches the x-axis. And right here is where that line touches the x-axis. And that is the point -12, 0. So we should have picked option A. Number 2, for the linear function f, we know that f of 0 equals 17 and f of 1 equals 17. Right? In other words, we know that 0, 17 is a solution, and we know 1, 17 is a solution. So really what we need to do is take these values and we need to plug them into each of these equations to figure out which one would give us the correct answer. Now, the idea of plugging them into these equations is a little tricky because there's no x value. So we need to, in other words, know what value can I plug in for x that always gives me an output value of 17. And the only one that will always give us an output value of 17 is C, right? If I plug in 0 here, I'll get an output value of 34, which is not what I want. If I plug in 0 here, I'll get an output value of 1, which is not what I want. If I plug in 0 here, I'll get an output value of 1 over 17, which is not what I want. But if I plug any number in here, right, including 0, I'll get an output value of 17, which is what I want. Our next one, we are given a function, right, for the function f defined above. It says, what is the value of f of 9 minus f of 1? So really all we need to do is find each of these values. So I need to find f of 9. So I'm going to treat f of 9 as one problem. So I'm going to plug 9 in for x. So I'm going to say 9 plus 7 all over the 4. The key is that if you're not using the Desmos calculator and using a handheld calculator, you can't type it in one thing. So I'll give us 16 over 4, which equals 4. So we know f of 9 equals 4. Okay, then we're going to find f of 1. So now I'm going to plug 1 in. 1 plus 7 over 4. Okay, so 1 plus 7 is 8. 8 over 4 is 2. And then it's asking us to subtract them. So then I need to take 4 minus 2, which gives me an answer of 2. Number 4, the function f is defined by f of x equals 5x plus 8. For what value of x does f of x equal 58? Okay, so this is saying when will it equal 58? Not if I plug in 58, but instead what value can I plug in that will give me an output value of 58? So what I really want to do is say 5x plus 8 has to equal 58. That's really what this question is saying. Now there's two approaches you can take. Approach number 1 is you can start plugging in all of these input values for x and see which one outputs 58. Right? So approach number 1 is I take this 10 and I plug it in for x. 5 times 10 plus 8. Oh, that's my answer right there. It equals 58. Option 2 is that I can solve this equation. 5x equals 50. Divide by 5. Right? Either way, we get 10. So the correct solution is 10. Number 5, right? We're given a graph up here. It tells us that a bank account was opened with an initial deposit. Over the next several months, regular deposits were made into this account. There were no withdrawals made during this time. The graph of the function f shown, so this is my graph, right, where y equals f of x, right? We know that y and f of x can equal each other. Estimates the account balance in dollars in this bank account x months since the initial deposit. To the nearest whole dollar, what is the amount of the initial deposit estimated by the graph? So really, the only thing that's really important in all of these words is we want to know what the initial deposit is. And the initial deposit, right, means that the time has to equal 0. So if the time equals 0, that's our y-intercept. So our y-intercept right here is 20. So we would say the initial amount is $20.